Hey, Winston Template here with the Real Estate Template. I am here today with Scot Poirier, or Poirier, right? Depending
Either
on what
way.
country you're going to pronounce it in. So Scott is going to be at our event that's going to be coming on June the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. Scott is a master at lease options. He's a master at creative financing. So he's a guy that if you come into the classes and you're trying to find some extra money somewhere, he might can help you find that extra money. If you're trying to find a way to purchase something with no money, he can help you on that. He's got a lot of different talents. We were on a cruise together here about a month ago, and he was speaking on a cruise at Jason Hartman's event. It was just a great opportunity to get to know him and listen to what he had to say. And I really think that he could bring some huge value to what we're bringing to y'all on June 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. So I wanted to introduce him to everybody. We'll do a little quick interview right here, a little podcast, and then we'll go from there. So,
Great.
Scott, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first, hey man, great reconnecting here with you. That cruise was really a lot of fun, man. I
Absolutely.
kind of ate my way through that cruise, but took a week or so to kind of balance back out. But no, I really appreciated our connection. It seemed like it was instant. It was really good. I think we just connect really well together. Really value this invite to even come talk to your folks and want to bring as much value as I can. But sort of I guess the big umbrella is, I mean, really, I guess it can be a big umbrella term, but I'm a creative financing kind of a guy. Key is really on the word creative. There's just a lot of ways that sort of the more you know, the more you set yourself up to know that much more about how you can really structure deals. And they do require a conversation with sellers. I really specialize on the front end. I like to acquire properties where it's very little money down or no money down, none of my credit, where I can acquire a property. Many times I can get deed to that property. And then I work the back end, which was some of the stuff that you and I had talked about that I had shared on that cruise about the back end doing the lease option. We like to call that kind of rent to own. That's what we do on the back end, bringing our buyers in. And it's a beautiful situation when you can see how it all works together from front to end. It's a really good way to do real estate with very little risk.
And people can do that with with bad credit. The credit doesn't really matter. They can
Yeah,
do it with minimal to no money.
correct.
I mean, there's really nothing to hold them back because really it's what you think up is what you create to do it. I mean, explain creative financing. People may hear you say creative financing. What exactly does that mean?
Yeah, so that may be like trying to explain how do you make coleslaw? It's like, well,
Yes.
there's a lot of ways to do coleslaw, right? So I talk to a lot of people. I've been in this niche really for quite a few years, and I hear people, and I can use that term, and people go, "Oh, I know what you do." But then as I see other people doing creative finance, they're again to come back to what I said earlier. The more we know, the more we set ourselves up to know even more. So for me, the biggest thing that I've learned in my creative financing is making sure I got a lot of protection. So creative financing is another way of saying how you can have a conversation with another human being where you can come to terms in a way that it works for the seller and works for me. In other words, I like to use the seller's debt if I can. If they don't have any debt, then I want to use the seller's lending, meaning that they become its owner financing at that point. So if they have a house free and clear, that they're going to finance me. And many times that financing is with 0% interest. Not every time, but I've got techniques to work through that. Sometimes I got to put a little bit of a down payment down. But if I can acquire the house through someone else's debt or someone else's financing, I bypass the bank. And obviously, I got to look at housing that has some kind of back end for me to want to be able to do this.
Absolutely.
So I can only imagine that maybe some of the folks that are listening to this right now might be thinking, well, who on earth would ever want to do something like that? And I got to tell you, it's amazing the people who are
Lots of
really
people.
depending on what their circumstances are, right?
Yeah.
So one of the big terms that's being used out there is called subject to. Let me give you the 10,000-foot view. Subject to is actually it's jargon. You don't ever want to use that with a seller. You never want to say to a seller, hey, I want to buy your house subject to. That term literally means I want to buy your house subject to the underlying mortgage. In other words, you're going to make the mortgage payment. Mortgage stays in the seller's name. So that takes a conversation, Winston, right? You got to know how to
Yeah, because they just don't
engage that
understand it.
individual for them to trust you to do that, right?
You're going to ruin my credit. You're going to ruin this. And they don't understand. You're not losing control at all.
That's
I
right.
mean,
That's right. And so we have certain features that we put in place where the seller still has a lien on the property, even if it's a true subject to. Now, I can tell you there are some people doing subject to, they don't do that. They just get deed to the house. I think it leaves the seller a little vulnerable. I think it's the right thing to do is to put a lien on that house. We call it a wraparound mortgage. So we're creating that note. We're creating a lien that we give to the seller. So if it's a free and clear house, the seller has first position, just like a bank would if I went to a bank to go buy a house. They're in that same position so that they have recourse, that they can actually do something if something were to go bad. Now, with us, that's not the situation. I'm not in this to take advantage of anybody. I'm in it for one reason. I want to maximize that property so I can get my tenant buyer in, and then I can sell on the back end with a premium. That's the stuff I want to share with your folks when we get together. If I could show them that, the front end and how the back end works, it's kind of mind-blowing when you really think about it.
So whenever we went on a cruise, listening to you talk on the first day, listening to you talk on the second day, I mean, there was a lot of knowledge the first day, then there was a ton of knowledge the second day. I'm sure if there was a third day, there would have been a ton more knowledge.
Yes.
So what we were talking about doing for this event we got coming up would be you coming in and you speaking for a little while on Friday, you speaking for a little while on Saturday, and you speaking a little bit while on Sunday also.
Yeah.
That way, when people have questions, they are there and they feel a little bit more comfortable to be able to ask you questions. And we'll go till 5 o'clock at night, and then we always just hang around and talk with people until people leave. So if people want to hang around and talk and ask questions, there's an opportunity for that. Just sit around and talk, and it's typically a pretty good time. And I think the value that you can bring into the group of people that we have had come to the classes so far would be amazing, because there's a lot of people in the classes that just cannot get the financing together to actually get the deals closed. And you have that ability to tell them, okay, let's go at it from a different direction, get you first one, your first couple, and then do something different from there if you want to. But it's at least master it. So how long you been doing lease options?
About 2 weeks. No, I'm kidding. Oh, I've been doing this for at least 7 years.
So
I've been
you
in
so
real estate for 10, and then cut my teeth after getting basically a first property that at the time a business partner and I, we had commingled our IRAs and we did self-directed IRA. That was a learning experience there. But that's what whetted our appetite at that point. We're like, ooh, we got to really figure out some stuff in real estate. And that's when we basically hired our first coach or mentor and paid for a program to say, we got to figure out how to really do this. And that's what got me into the creative financing. But it took me a while to cut my teeth on knowing how to have that conversation. I can't wait to share this with your folks, because what I want to do is, if anyone's generating leads, they got to bring some leads, because I'll do live calls right there in our sessions. So you can actually hear me, see me, have these conversations with these individuals that are leads, and we can talk about how we can gather that information ahead of time so I can be prepared for that. But I find that whenever I do that, it just blows people away. They're like, wow, because you're hearing
so if y'all are wanting to do something like that the day of class or something, then be sure to send us something. You can put it in the comments what you're looking at. Scott's going to give his information at the end. You're welcome to contact him directly and say, hey, this is what I want you to look at maybe, and we might can talk about that. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool to be able to
I'll
do
even
that.
give you, you know what, Winston, I'm going to send you a document that I use with my clients that they fill out.
Okay.
So that we can get it really organized. People can just fill it out. And then we'll have it ready to go. And I could probably even do, depending on how many we get, maybe we'll just do more than just one day. I'll fit it in some of the sessions where I'll make some
Well,
additional.
my thought is you need to speak every day regardless. So, because I think that, you're going to fly all the way over here. Let's get you some activity. I love your comment that one of the first things you do is you go get a coach. So many people just want to wing it, man. I don't want to spend any money. I want to spend any money. You know what? Sometimes you got to invest money. I know I've invested tons and tons and tons of money in education, and that education always comes back. I mean, whatever I invest in education always comes back to me. And so many people think that, well, I can do it without that. You can do it without it, yes. But is that the best thing for you? Probably not, because by the time you have missed opportunities that you miss, by the time you have maybe you do a bad deal and lose some money, it's not worth it at that point. There's so many variables in there whenever you go out there winging it rather than getting the education. I've done coaches, I've done mentors, I've done classes. I know that I did lease option classes with Rich Dad Education, And that was a
Hmm.
3-day class, 8 hours a day. So we're talking 24 hours worth of classroom time.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you, man, I think I might have gotten more out of what you spoke about in that little bit of time you spoke on that boat
Mm.
than I got out of those classes. Now maybe I'm just in a different place and I was listening differently. I don't know.
Sure. Sure.
But your information was good information. It was good information that people can take and go do something with.
Yeah. So, it's interesting you just said what you said, because my observation is this, that when people are hesitant for the coach thing, it's not always just because they don't want to spend the money. They don't want to get ripped off. Right. And so they got to, I think the
We
biggest
live in that world right
thing,
now, don't we? I mean,
yes.
it is so bad. So many different people are,
Yeah.
oh my word, these gurus out there, hey, I'll have you a millionaire in 90 days. That's the stupidest stuff. And we're not
Yes.
saying nobody can do it, because somebody can do it.
It's
But
just
that
not
is
typical.
not,
Yeah.
no, it's
It's
not
just
typical. It's not the norm. And it's not what most people are going to be able to do. Most people are going to be able to, you want to be a millionaire, you got to invest 5 years. You got to invest enough time to get in there and
yeah.
make it happen.
Yep. So I think what people are really looking for is someone that they feel like they can know. And this is the value of what you're doing with your community. You're making, because we've talked through this, you've made yourself available again and again to your community to be helpful, right? So people know you, they like you. And here's the biggest thing is they trust you. And I promise you, it's the same way when you're dealing with a seller, or if you're dealing with a buyer, you got to do the same thing. It's always been that way. Well, maybe not. Maybe people were naive at some point, but it certainly is today. People have to feel like, I think I can connect with this guy and I like him. He's likable, or gal, but I trust him. Once you get someone over the trust barrier, I'm telling you, the sky's the limit. And so, yeah, so I think that's what we got to do, is to be transparent and authentic and just share what we have and see what happens. And we go from there.
So we're gonna do classes on day one. I spend all the first morning running numbers.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, understanding what the deal is, understanding the deal, understanding the deal, understanding the deal. We'll bring you in after lunch to talk, but we're going to talk about buying stuff and rehabbing. We're going to
Oh,
talk about
okay.
new construction and building. We're going to
Hmm.
talk about doing land development deals. We're going to talk about how to deal with planning and zoning, how to deal with the coast department, how to deal with the city that you live in. We're going to talk about all of that stuff. So I tell you that so that you understand what we're going after, because you'll have a little bit to add to every one of those, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
and I am my classes are very interactive.
Okay.
I have people that tell me after every class, I've never been to a class that's that interactive. If somebody's got a question, I want you to ask that question right now. Don't wait. Let's answer that
Yeah.
question. So as we move on, you move along with us, because I'm that guy. If I got a question to ask and I don't get that answer, I am stuck in that mode until somebody answers my question, and then I
I
forget
get you.
everything
Yeah.
else that was said. It's horrible. It's horrible,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I just assume there's others out there like me.
Oh, I'm sure that, yes.
But
Yeah.
but I
I
gotta
think
get
we're always
clarification
afraid.
on the way.
I think we're always afraid of that one guy or that one person that has 47 questions in 8 minutes.
Yes, 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 yes,
Then
yes.
we
I
want to
agree.
help them along. Say, just hold
Yeah.
on. We got good stuff here.
Yeah. Or
Right.
are they just really trying to control the situation? We're not, that ain't what we're looking for.
That's right.
We're looking for people that's got some genuine questions. This is what I'm thinking, not somebody trying to, they want to trick you into something or whatever,
Yeah. So
And I
what
tell
else?
everybody, if you're looking for the smartest guy in the room, I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I
I
can give you a lot of experience, and I can talk to you about the stuff I've done, good, bad, or indifferent. We can
yeah.
talk about all of that. And I can tell you what that got me.
My goal is to always be in a room where I'm not the smartest guy, because
Absolutely.
I like to walk away learning something, right?
Absolutely.
And I'll tell you right now, I have a coach right now, and I'm in this space. I've been in this space for a long time. I have coached, mentored hundreds of students around the country over the last 6 years, and I've got a coach. I'm always learning. There's so much to learn in real estate. Don't ever stop that learning curve.
No, the
I was
minute
just
you
gonna,
think you know everything is the minute you need to get out of business, because you know
that's
what?
right.
Something's going to come back and bite
Yeah.
you.
Oh, absolutely. There's always something else. I'm gonna say, if I can convey this whole notion about what you do with creative financing, all these other things you were talking about, like fix and flipping, so you're acquiring the property, and I can bring in some what's the word? I can bring in some examples of properties that I've done where I gotten deed to the house and never paid a penny for the house. Got it on creative financing, got deed, then did the rehab, sold, and then paid off my seller, and everything was great. So I'm up in the Northeast. So when you're buying a
And you
junk
can do that
here,
with no risk to the seller. The seller isn't taking any risk with you, and that's what everybody. Oh, well, I'm not giving everybody control because I got all the risk. No, you do it where there's no risk for either party, really.
That's right.
Maybe you got most of the risk because you got to perform on what you say you're going to do, but they're not at risk of losing anything.
Yep. It's all about the conversation.
Absolutely.
It's that likability, right? That they feel like they know you, they like you, and they trust you. You get over the trust hurdle, I'm telling you, people will sign, people will work with you. So I think you just got to be authentic. And I try to do that. I try to be very upfront with the seller. Hey, this is what we're looking to do. Let's find a place where it works for both of us. That's sort of my mantra. Let's see if we can find a place that works for both of us.
Yeah.
And,
so can you give everybody your contact information? Would you mind doing that? That way, if
I don't mind that at all.
they
So,
can.
so let's go with my email address. And you know what? If they want to even go over to Facebook, so they can go to Facebook, My Deal Inc. And that's a group page. They can even jump in on that. I'm posting stuff all the time, some video content and things like that. But they can also reach out to me on my email address. So my Facebook is My Deal Inc. Just go into Facebook and type that into the window, the search window, and it'll come up. My email is Scott. It's 1T. I've been cursed with this name with the 1T, and I've always adopted the 1T. If I had thought about all those email addresses, I probably would have left it alone with 2 T's because everyone does that. But it's Scott with 1T. But it's a good way for people to remember me. A lot of people just call me 1T. Hey, 1T, So
everybody on the cruise called just Scott with 1T.
They did.
They always had the 1T.
And there was another Scott on there, right? So so that made me stand out.
And Scott Sanders was going to come also and talk about 1031.
I would have loved to have seen him. Yeah,
but he has another engagement that's preventing him from coming this time. So maybe he'll come next time.
Yeah, maybe we'll catch him on another time. So Scott with 1T at Scott with 1T, RE as in real estate, RE blueprint.com. Scott 1T at Scott RE blueprint.com.
Excellent. And I'll have Nick go ahead and put it in the comments below also, so it's all in writing. Perfect. Too.
All right.
So any last words you'd like to tell everybody?
I'm excited to talk with your folks. Excited to see what you're doing with them as well, and see how these sort of two things that we're doing can really actually complement each other. No, I say come in on fire, man. If you're here, if you're going to spend 3 days, that tells me you got to have some kind of motivation. Come in with a pad and pen in hand, man. Take as many notes, suck everything out of us that you can, and get the best of this. That's what I would
say. Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, brother, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you. And if you need anything else, just let us know.
See you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Peace.
Thank you.
Okay.